Hey guys, it's Mari, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Alright, so today guys, I definitely want to discuss this topic because a lot of times people always usually ask me about it. And I don't know why, because I feel like every time you guys see me, I'm always in a relationship, right? So whenever people always ask me like, Mari, how is it to date while you're trans? Like, is dating gonna be harder for you after you transition? The short answer to that is maybe, possibly. Everybody's different. So dating while trans can be very unique to each and every individual. Personally for me, since I started my transition, I never really had any issues with my dating life. My dating life has always usually been pretty easy compared to, like, of course, pre-transition. So after I transitioned everything, it was kind of simple. So I'll kind of go into how my dating life has been since I transitioned and how that's looking for me now moving forward within my transition and actually dating currently while being transgender. So before I transitioned, dating for me hasn't really ever been an issue. I can definitely say that I was attractive apparently to people. In my opinion, I probably would have gave myself a 7 on an everyday basis. Only simply because I'm not going to say I was cute, but I ain't going to say I was ugly. I'll say I was average. So after, like I said, for me dating was a really hard thing. People thought I was cute, before I transitioned. So, kind of moving forward in the transition, a concern of mine was my dating life. And it wasn't a concern really because I felt as though like I wouldn't be desirable. It was just more the fact that once I transition, am I going to look how I picture myself to look before I started taking, my hormone therapy. So for me, it was more of a concern for my own personal insecurities more than it was to worry about what any or everybody else would say about me at the end of the day. So as I start my process of transitioning, I can definitely say that, like I said, my changes happened pretty rapidly. Like, my facial hair grew in pretty quick. My bottom growth came in pretty fast. My voice changed within like the first month. So everything was kind of happening at a fast pace for me to where I was kind of already in that development stage to try to figure out whether or not this was going to work. So when I started my transition, I was actually dating somebody at the time, and she knew about, me transitioning and everything, and she was totally fine with it. She, kind of helped me out through my whole process of trying to figure out how things were supposed to go, and she wasn't, like I said, she wasn't a bad person at all. She was definitely like a very, very supportive person during my entire transition. So during the time when I was getting all that together, I was already in a relationship. So for me, it was like having that first relationship during the transition wasn't really something, in my opinion, where it was like hard for us to work out what we were doing. Hard for us to work out our relationship at the time, really. It was just more of the fact that just like I was concerned because I would hear stories about people who would say once somebody transitions, like everything changes. Just if, of course, when you're going through hormone therapy, your body is going through so many different changes so fast. I was concerned that I was going to change entirely to a completely different person to where that would mess up our relationship during the time. And of course, like I said, everybody's transition is different. So you never really know what your experience is going to be like compared to somebody else's. So for me, going through transition and realizing that I wasn't really changing for more of a negative purpose, I was actually changing to be more positive. It actually ended up working out for me in that case of like that first steps within the dating life. Although technically I wasn't dating at the time, I was dating somebody at the time in my whole relationship. But like I said, after we broke up and I moved on and we both moved on, that's when like phase 2 of actually dating came into play before I met my current girlfriend. So I can say like for me, I'm pretty passing. And even if I'm passing, sometimes people still do question my identity from the jump. So when I decided to, go through a dating and me and my ex broke up, I could definitely say that more women actually came onto me at the time during that whole process of my transition. Like I said, since I'm pretty passing my variety of individuals who were interested in me, I only range from straight women, it ranged from gay men as well. So having basically the entire spectrum be interested in you during your process of the single life for me wasn't really hard. And I'm not saying this to brag, right? None of this is like my bragging. This is just like all my personal experience. Of course, at the end of this, I'm going to give like my tips on how you should navigate the dating world being in the transition, because tips are always great, people. Tips will always be helpful. Don't look at my life and be like, that's going to happen, because I'm not 100% sure our realities are going to be the same, because they're not. I'm just going to tell you that now. But like I said, I want to get my background first before going into my tips, so please bear with me. It's like I said, since a couple different, spectrums of people came on to me, I never felt like, that was something that would be hard for me. I have experienced, though, maybe one or two people that I've met within my lifetime of dating during my transition who didn't approve of it, and of course, that just didn't work out at all. I remember talking to this girl, and everything was cool. We would kick it here and there and text pretty often. I think that I made a post on social media one day announcing, like, officially to like my social media accounts. It was like, hey guys, like, I'm trans, this is what's going on. And then I think actually after that I ended up doing a promotional takeover for a underwear company that wanted me to kind of do a Instagram takeover for them. And during that whole time, after I was doing the videos for them, what ended up happening was she ended up texting me and was just like, yeah, I don't think this is going to work out, right? So it happens. Like, for me, not everything is smooth for me when it comes to the date world. Like, I'm not going to say, like I said, because I haven't had many bad experiences during my transition of dating, I'm not going to say that some instances never actually happened at all for me. Like I said, dating while you're transitioning can be very confusing, and it's definitely going to be a lot of trial and error, because you don't really know somebody's true intentions until you actually get to know them. Like, a lot of times we don't just automatically come out and say that we're trans to meet new people, especially those who we kind of just meet out in the open. Like, for me too, another thing I can say is, like, I work at a lesbian bar in Atlanta, so a lot of times where I'm in the bar, people already know what kind of people are in there. Like, we have allies in there from time to time, but usually mostly a lot of people that's in that bar is within the LGBTQ plus community. So a lot of times when they see me, they kind of already know, like, well, if you are this, at least I know for a fact. So it's kind of more security rather than kind of just meeting somebody out, on a everyday basis, right? So I mean, it's like I said, it's just different depending on the case, right? For me, I even now with my current girlfriend, she's extremely supportive of my transition, 100%. We both are advocates to making sure that I'm okay, that all the surgeries and things like that that's moving forward is going to be okay and all that. If you haven't seen our video, it's on the Love Journal, which is another YouTube channel, and that explains, like, how we met in our love story. So I won't go too deep into that, but I can say for my girlfriend, I know she's going to bring this up. She's going to say, like, when she first saw me, at least, because we didn't meet yet the first time. So when she saw me, she said she couldn't really tell if I was a girl or a boy, right? So here's the thing, like I said, at times where, like I said, I'm working at a lesbian bar, which is where we met. You can't really tell sometimes, because like I said, my voice is deeper than what it was way before I actually transitioned. So it kind of adds a confusion of whether or not, are you this or are you that, right? So, like I said, from time to time, I think when I bring it up, it's funny, of course, now that we're dating, but like I said, depending on the cases, you may or may not give positive or negative feedback depending on, whoever you're trying to show interest into. Now, since I'm in a very happy and loving relationship, I definitely just want to go ahead and go into some tips. And like I said, there's everything about this video isn't about like me bragging or anything like that. It's just more like I said, you guys kind of want to know more about my dating life and how that's been. And basically to summarize it all up, before I get into the tips, before I transitioned, apparently I was cute. If you ask me, maybe a 7 at best. During my transition, like I said, when I first started out, I was actually dating somebody. She was fully supportive. After we broke up, dating for me wasn't never hard. I'm not really a person who likes to date a lot of people or multiple people at the same time anyway. That's not really my cup of tea. Especially like after my ex and I actually ended up breaking up, it was just more of me just kind of, you know, not really worried about a relationship. Like I'll talk to women here and there, but like it wasn't nothing where it was like I was actually actively like dating in a way where I'm like going out on dates consistently and things like that. It's just more of me just kind of talking to people here and there. And like I said, even then, I think, in my opinion, more people actually came on to me while I was transitioning than before I was transitioning. So, you know, it's kind of like, you know, something like that. So like now, like I said, I'm in a very happy and healthy relationship, a supportive relationship. My girlfriend knows, like I said, about all of, you know, who I am and trying to become. So she's really supportive of that. And like I said, to summarize it up, my dating life has been great from my point of view. Now, one thing I can say too is, let's think about the statistics here. It's like, as from what I've known personally, they say about 16 to 18% of people in America will openly say that they would date somebody that's trans. And for trans men, dating isn't as hard as it would be for trans women. Trans women, of course, is a higher risk of not only rejection, but at the same time harm. You know, of course, because navigating the dating world as a trans woman is completely different from navigating the world as a trans man. So I always have to point this out too, is that I want everybody, not only for trans women as well, but men of course too, to be safe and aware of who they're, you know, trying to explain themselves to. Like, it's explaining your transition, explaining, you know, why you're deciding to do it, explaining who you are. Now, don't get me wrong, my personal opinion is that it shouldn't matter, of course, who you are, right? It should only matter about what's inside. Some people in society can be effed up and kind of, like I said, look at us in ways where it's a disgrace or it's disgusting, it's abnormal, you know, and things like that. So my main concern for everybody watching this video when it comes to dating is to always be safe when, you know, navigating the dating life as a transgender individual or non-binary or genderqueer as well. Because you have to think about people around here. Like, we don't know everybody that we're meeting right away normally, right? Like, most of the time when we're dating people, it might not always be a friend or a friend of a friend that we know. It might actually be a stranger. So we have to be aware, even at times when it might be a friend or something, right? Like, some people can still look at us, like I said, and think that we don't belong here and will actually take the steps to do that in some sort of way or fashion. So I always like to make sure that you guys be safe and aware when explaining and coming out to your partner or whoever you're dating at the time of when that happens. I like to just throw it out there because it's extremely important for you guys. First tip I want to say is be ready to date. Now, a lot of times we think that when we're transitioning that we are ready to just go out into the wings, into the forest and things like that. And, you know, and we're prepared to date. And half the time that's actually not true. When you think about dating while you're trans, you have to make sure that you're in the mental capacity to do so. Because, like I said, depending on who you meet along the way, it might take some shifting and, you know, and some conversations in order to make, you know, this work out between the two of you as a couple. Or if you're polygamous, as couples. Or a group. I don't know what you call polygamous groups, but polygamous relationships, right? So when we go into these relationships, make sure that you're in the mental capacity to make sure that you can handle all the things that goes into that. That requires not only just for you, but for your partner as well, because you do have to be considerate about how your partner feels about certain things, especially when, like you said, maybe your hormones or something might be reflecting the relationship at some point. That could be damaging as well and cause a lot of conflict between the two of you and you can't move forward. So make sure that you're ready to start dating, you're in the mental capacity to date, and as well as making sure that whoever you decide to, of course, put yourself out there for, that you're ready to help them go through that journey as well. Number 2, when you find a partner that you are, compatibly matched with, make sure that you're ready to teach them. And I don't say that in a way where it's like you have to teach your partner about who you are in the community that you represent. What I'm saying is that a lot of times your partner's not going to know a lot of things that you're going through. And that doesn't require you, of course, to go through it all in one day, right? Like my girlfriend, when she met me, didn't know really much about the transgender community. And I didn't splur all of the information knowledge that I know about the community to her right away. Like we take baby steps in order to make sure that we can get it to work. So a lot of times things are going to happen to you that you know about, but they're not going to know, right? Which is kind of the same thing of the first thing that I said about preparing your partner in case things do happen. Like I said, with hormones or surgery, they're not going to know how your mind is on a lot of things because you only know for yourself. And they're just kind of just new into this whole thing normally, right? So you have to be willing to guide your partner through your transition and teaching them certain things along the way in order for them to fully support you during your dating life, because we all know personally as transgender individuals that it's a lot to handle. Number 3, don't be ashamed to put yourself out there. Now, I do like to say, of course, with caution, because like I said, we don't really know who we're meeting normally, and you never know somebody's true intentions until you kind of get to know them along the way. So it's kind of like dipping your toe in the water, but putting your whole foot in there and kind of slowly crawling along the way, right? Don't be afraid to put yourself out there because somebody's going to accept you for you, And I know nowadays there's so many different apps and things to go on to where you can find somebody who loves you. I'm still cautious about apps too because you never know somebody on the other side of the screen, which is another concerning thing, and you never know who you can be meeting up with, So I definitely want you guys to take the time to actually know that it's okay to put yourself out there, because if you don't, you never know who might be able to spot you along the way. Social media and dating apps are a great way to start too, don't get me wrong, because now we have a lot of apps centered towards people within the transgender community, so it kind of helps us, put ourselves out there more. And even if you're with friends or family, if you're out in public, don't be afraid to show who you are. Of course, well, depending on your family, don't be afraid to show who you are out in the public as well. So definitely take the time to put yourself out there because you never know, there might be a line of people out the door waiting for you. Number 4, find a partner that respects you. Now, when I say find a partner that respects you, that centers around making sure that your partner uses the proper pronouns, the proper name, the proper sexual, as in like male or female, right? So transgender men are men, transgender women are women. My partner always uses he, him pronouns. From time to time, my family, and I'm okay with my family doing this because, like I said, they know me for 23 years, people, okay? It's not going to be an easy transition to go from she, her to he, him. I just want to put that out there. So my girlfriend always uses he, him pronouns for me, of course, and like I said, that's just her respecting me and this transition that I'm going through, right? I identify as a transgender man. I believe I am a man. So for her, she likes to use the proper pronouns. So whenever we are out in public, and there are people who aren't my family who say the other pronouns, she definitely corrects them and be like, excuse me, it's not she, her, it's he, him. It's he, him, right? So make sure you find a partner that respects you just as much as my partner does. And I love you, baby. And, because that goes a long way, right? Because you don't want a partner who says they support your transition, and then during the whole thing, they're using the wrong pronouns, the wrong name that you chose, and the wrong sex, even if you're out. Like, if you were to fill out an application and you're like, I always put I'm a male, but they're still putting down female, that's just a lack of respect for you. They don't have respect for you to respect your transition, vice versa, obviously, because you respect theirs, you call them, whatever your partner identifies as. So they should do the same thing for you, period. And what number on 5 or 6? It doesn't even matter at this point. Respect yourself when you're having sex. I say this because if you're dating somebody, like I said, whether you're actively dating or even if you're polygamous, and you might have another partner, and y'all, kind of have, you get the point. You get the point. if you're out here actively dating and you're not ready to settle down, or if you, I don't even want to go into polygamous part no more. I understand it, people. It's just hard to explain it in a story. But if you're having sex actively with multiple partners, is what I should say, please be knowledgeable of your health and safety. This requires for transgender men and transgender women, especially because I love my transgender women here, my women of all ethnicities and cultures, and I am terrified for you ladies every day because it's always something out there that seems to be bringing you guys down. So when we talk about sex, health, and safety, make sure that you are using condoms, or you are using proper female condoms, or whatever it is out there. Make sure you're washing your sex toys actively. Get toy cleaner. Stop. I'm not saying that the boil method doesn't work, but sex cleaners, make sure you're switching out all of your sex toys from time to time. Just make sure that, and then you know the statuses of the partners that you're having sex with as well, because that's very, that can be very concerning as well, especially since, from time to time you just might just be in the mood and you're ready to get to it. So make sure you get yourself checked out pretty often, because I get myself checked out pretty often regardless of me and my girlfriend. Like, I 100% trust her now. It's just more of making sure that we both know that we are healthy and everything's fine in our areas, okay? But please make sure that you guys are being safe during any sexual activity, regardless of your gender identity in your partners, please. Tip number 6, be proactive with your partner. Be able to have open conversations with them, because from time to time, your partner might not feel comfortable enough to bring up certain conversations. As an example of this could be if your partner has gender dysphoria from time to time, they might not want to discuss it right away. Right? So give your partner the space, but also be open to letting your partner know that you're open to have this discussion with them, because the main thing, of course, about being in a relationship is communication. You have to be able to communicate with your partner when things go wrong. So allow your partner in, guys. Like, don't be scared to allow your partner in, because their main goal, of course, is to help you get through a lot of things, especially if you're going to be with this person for the rest of your life. You have to be open to having conversations when you're having bad days of dysphoria, or when you're having thoughts about, things that you want to do for yourself in the future. Just having these conversations about your transition in general. Allow your partner in. Allow them to be able to have these conversations with you, and vice versa. Partners, if you're watching this for your partner, be open to letting them know that you're willing to have these conversations with them. Because if you don't, it's just going to make the relationship kind of shift in different directions. And if you love each other, you should be able to make that work out. So I also want to point out too, when you're dating while trans, don't let sexual orientation get to you. So what I mean by that is, a lot of times people feel as though once you transition, that means that you're attracted to the sex that you were assigned to, right? So me being I was assigned female at birth, I should only be attracted to female after I transition. Of course, if you were assigned male at birth, that you're only supposed to be attracted to men, right? That is incorrect. Do not let people your sexual orientation. Even if you transition, you can date whoever you want. You can be pansexual, bisexual, you can be straight, you can be gay still. There's no endless possibilities when it comes to sexuality, because it's on a spectrum. It's exactly like gender identity. All this stuff is on a scale or a spectrum. So when people say that when you transition, that means you're supposed to like the sex that you were assigned, that's absolutely false. I know individuals personally who are trans, who are pansexual, so they date any and everybody. I know transgender people who are gay. I know transgender people who are straight. There is endless possibilities after you come out for your day life. So don't always think that because you're this, that this is that's how it's supposed to be, because that's not true. Don't let people tell you that you can't date whoever you want even after you transition, because that's your choice. And since it is your choice, you decide what makes you happy at the end of the day. Please don't let people deteriorate your sexual orientation, because it's for you, it's not for everybody else. So as I wrap this video up, I just want to say gender dysphoria can be a bitch, period. But finding somebody who accepts you for you is key to making sure that your dating life goes smoothly. I know successful relationships within the transgender community, and I don't want you guys to ever feel as though because you're trans, you cannot find love, because baby, you are going to find love. Believe it, manifest it. Please don't, deteriorate yourself in thinking that because you're transitioning that your daily life cannot happen for you. It absolutely can happen, guys. Just take the time to make sure that you find somebody who truly loves you as you are, because you do deserve love. You deserve love. So, as I go ahead and wrap up this video, of course, I thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, follow me on social media at Mariiiwrld. That is MAR3ISWRLD. My website is finally up, guys, and if you want to book any services with me, that's either being a life coach or navigating my consulting as a transgender individual, please go ahead and book me. It's all open to you guys on my website at www.Mariiiwrld, that is AMARIMCGEE.com. And until next time, guys, of course, you can see me here every Sunday, as always. And of course, peace.